Hello everybody and welcome to Octo-boo-er, the month where I make a whole bunch of spooky videos, and this week's topic is snakes. Snakes, one of the most feared creatures on planet Earth. Oh, well, maybe this isn't the best example. Snakes, one of the most feared creatures on planet Earth. There we go. Great. Snakes, according to this article from calmclinic.com, probably reliable, it says that, quote, studies have shown that 1/3 of human adults suffered from ophidiophobia, or the fear of snakes, making it the most common of known phobias. Which I thought the most common phobia was like public speaking. So I don't know if this is true, but this is just according to this article. Even though 1/3 of the U.S. fears snakes, that number is exacerbated by those that only fear them a little. Okay, well. I don't know why I used this article. Anyways, moving on. There's this good WikiHow article about how to overcome your fear of snakes. And step 4 is become an expert in snakes. You should learn as much as you can about whatever scares you. In this case, begin with your list and begin researching facts about snakes. In a way, this video should be designed to help people overcome their fear of snakes. I'm doing a public service by helping 1/3 of American adults become less afraid of snakes through the power of knowledge. Let's get started. Our snake talk about the black mamba, which lives in Africa, a species of snake that lives in Africa. The black mamba is one of the world's deadliest snakes. And why I chose this snake is because it is the fastest land snake in the world. And the longest species of venomous snake in Africa, and the second longest in the world, but also the fastest. Does it say how fast they can slither in this article? Let me see. They can grow to be 14 feet long, although their average length is 8 feet, and they can slither at speeds of up to, I'm sure it says somewhere, black mambas are one of the fastest species of snakes, reaching slithering speed of up to 12 miles per hour. Although over long distances, they average about 7 miles per hour. Still, 12 miles per hour over short distances is nothing to scoff at. Probably faster than a lot of people can run, to be honest. That's booking it. And apparently, as the black mambas slither, they can, I'll just read what it says here. Quote, they slither quickly in short bursts over level ground and can zoom along with about 1/3 of their bodies off the ground and their heads proudly held high. The black mamba racing along with its head nearly 4 feet in the air is terrifying and amazing sight. Although black mambas typically use their great speed to escape threats and not to hunt, still, I probably wouldn't go near one. Here's a green mamba chilling in a tree. Great. I don't even know how it got up there. Now let's get into the real meat and potatoes of why black mambas, and why all snakes really are scary, and that is their bite. Just 2 drops of potent black mamba venom can kill a human. Like cobras and coral snakes, the venom of a black mamba contains neurotoxins, which is described as fast-acting and can shut down the nervous system and paralyze victims, and can cause fatalities in as little as 20 minutes after injection. Although usually its death happens between 30 minutes to 3 hours after injection, still it can happen as little as 20 minutes after injection. Without the antivenom, a bite from a black mamba is considered 100% fatal. So you are certainly going to die if you're bitten by a black mamba and you don't receive antivenom, which is terrifying. And then you think, oh, well, at least there's antivenom. But I have this other website about snake facts, and it just drops this fact casually. It says, quote, 2 drops of black mamba venom can kill a person in 20 minutes if left untreated. Before the antivenom was developed, a black mamba bite was a death sentence, killing 100% of its victims. However, the antivenom now prevents 80% of casualties. And it kind of like, when you read it, you kind of think, oh, it prevents 80% of casualties? That's so high. It prevents so many casualties. You still have a 20% chance of dying, though, with the antivenom. That seems quite high still. Even with the antivenom, you have a 1 in 5 chance of dying after getting bit by a black mamba, according to the site. Also, it's the fastest snake in the world. That seems a little unnecessary. And can slither at 12 miles per hour. Now let's travel from Africa to Australia, where we meet the death adder. That's the name of the snake, the death adder. That is terrifying. It literally adds death to whichever it comes contact with. This doesn't have as high of a fatality rate as the black mamba, but it's still ridiculously high. It says before the development of the death adder antivenom in Australia in 1958, death from envenomation was estimated to be about 50%. And similarly to the black mamba, the venom from the death adder is neurotoxic, eventually leading to a loss of control in the voluntary muscular system via postsynaptic blockage of neuromuscular transmission. This can then result in respiratory failure and therefore death unless assisted breathing is given. So that's terrifying. The death adder is quite interesting because unlike other venomous snakes which hunt, the death adder is more of an sit-and-wait ambush predator, where they'll just sit and wait for something to walk by before pouncing on it. It is also camouflage, so it's quite difficult to see. I think somewhere in this article, this is the quote that I wanted to bring up. Quote, "Most Australians never see a death adder in the wild, but unbeknownst to them, they probably walked past them in the bush on many occasions. However, for some unknown reason, some towns or suburbs experience high encounter rates with these snakes. It is important for residents in these areas to be aware of this hazard and to train their pets to stay away from snakes and not bite them, as this, of course, when the snake will defend itself by biting, is when the snake will defend itself by biting. That's something I've never even thought about is pets encountering venomous snakes. Of course, pets have a lower body mass than humans, so I would suspect that many pets can be killed much more easily than humans, which is it's really sad. But let's back up. Unbeknownst to many Australians, they've probably walked past a death adder in the bush. What? Yeah, going back to this website, the real reason I highlight the death adder is that the death adder is the fastest striker of any snake. It can be ready to strike, or I'll just read what it says here. Another snake native to Australia, the death adder can strike, inject venom, and be ready to strike again in just 0.15 seconds. Definitely one of the snake facts you wouldn't want to see for yourself. So it can just bite you repeatedly, I guess. That sucks. But moving on from Australia to India. India is quite interesting. I think there's a fact somewhere in here. It is estimated that there is 250,000 venomous snake bites per year in India alone. From those, it's estimated that approximately 15 to 20% of the snake victims die, which means about 35,000 to 50 fatalities per year in just India. And most of these deaths come from just 4 species of snakes, despite there being 270 species of snakes. In India, most of the deaths come from just 4 snakes. These are considered the big 4, the deadliest Indian snakes, and they are the common krite, the saw-scaled viper, the Indian cobra or speckled cobra, and Russell's viper. And let's just go through these snakes really quick. The saw-scaled viper is considered one of the most aggressive snake species in the world, which is found in India, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and also Middle East Asia and Central Asia. Smallest of the big 4 snake species, but it has the fastest strike of the big 4 and strikes to bite. They sizzle instead of hiss by rubbing sections of their bodies together, which is weird. Russell's viper is the next snake, or Indian Russell's viper, as it's also known, which is found in India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Laos, Myanmar, China, Thailand, Cambodia, and also parts of Indonesia. This snake is responsible for the most snakebite incidents and deaths by venomous snakes in Asia. Quite the accomplishment. Good job, snake. No, that's not what I'm saying. Oh God, I wish I had phrased that better. Quite the accomplishment in a horrifying sort of way. The thing about the Russell's viper is that it's so successful that other snakes mimic its appearance. Namely the rough-scaled sand boa. Its colored pattern is similar to that of the Russell's viper, even though it is harmless. And I guess to ward off predators that might be wary of the Russell's viper. Russell's viper produces a venom with a potent neurotoxin, of course, which affects the nervous system, causing paralysis and death if untreated. The Indian cobra is the next snake of the big four. Found in the Indian subcontinent, includes countries such as India, Nepal, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, also known as the speckled cobra, Asian cobra, or Spinosalente cobra. Average length is about 6 feet, which is a bit excessive, I think. The snakes really need to be that long. These snakes are snakes that are revered in Indian mythology and culture and are often seen with snake charmers. This is the stereotypical snake you think of when you think of India. Shame on you, by the way. I'm just kidding. The common crite, or the common crate, but I think it's the common crite is how it's pronounced. It's found in the Indian subcontinent, also known as the blue crite or the Indian crite. The thing that's interesting about the common crite is that it feeds mainly on other snakes, including even other crites. Sometimes it eats rodents, lizards, and other frogs, but mostly other snakes, which is hardcore. Of the big four venomous snakes found in India, the common crite is the most venom. It's the most venomous, excuse me. It's venomous. It's considered to be 15 times more toxin than that of the Indian cobra. God damn. Mortality rate is 50% even with anti-venom treatment, and 70 or 80% without treatment. So this is why the common crite is considered one of the deadliest snakes species in the world. And that's the four big Indian snakes. India sounds terrifying. 25,000 venomous snake bites a year. God damn. All this talk about snakes has reminded me of something I learned in Boy Scout camp. It was like a rhyme that we all had to learn. And it goes something like, red touches yellow, kills a fellow. Red touches black, friend of Jack. We had to learn like something like that in Boy Scout camp. And I always thought like, oh, this is going to be like super useful. I'm going to need to know this because at some point I'm going to come across a snake where I'll need to know this information. But this rhyme is only true for coral snakes. If we go back to the snakes that we've already talked about, you'll notice that none of them have red, black, or yellow. So it's really not useful for any of the snakes we've talked about. It's really only useful for coral snakes, which its range you can see here, which is far away from where I live. I really did not need to know this rhyme. I have a better rhyme than red touches yellow, kills a fellow, red touches black, friend of Jack. Okay, I have it. Okay. If you see a snake, get away, Jake. Just leave the snake alone. Don't go near a snake. Why would you? Okay, so red touches black, friend of Jack. So if you saw this snake, the scarlet king snake, you saw that the red touches black, so it's a friend of Jack, so it's not venomous. What would you do? Would you really go up and bother the snake, or would you just leave it alone? I would just leave it alone anyways. Like like this rhyme has brought me no value because if I see a snake, I'm gonna avoid it no matter what kind of snake it is. That's probably a good rule of thumb. I just want to vent about how upsetting this rhyme is and how stupid it is. Just stay away from snakes. See a snake? Get away, Jake. You know what's scary, which I didn't know before making this episode, which maybe I should have known. I don't know if this is very common knowledge, but there are snakes that live in the sea and can swim, and that's weird. And there's this video here. You could just see snakes just swimming. It's a sea kite. This one's called, apparently. Oh, I'll link this video in the description if you want to watch it. There's like commentary that's going over the top of it. Look at this snake eating something. I don't know what that is, but I mean, you can like see it. Yeah. Anyways, sea snakes. Where do they live? I think it says somewhere in here. Where do sea snakes live? They are restricted to the coastal areas of the Indian and Western Pacific Oceans, from the east coast of Africa to the Gulf of Panama, except for the yellow-bellied sea snake, which is found in open ocean from Africa eastwards across the Pacific to the west coast of the Americas. All other species live mainly in waters less than 30 meters deep, about 100 feet deep, as they must dive to the sea floor to find their food among coral reefs, among mangroves, or in the ocean bottom. And of course, there are some species of sea snakes which are venomous, because of course they are. And of course, the sea snake bite is the cause of at least some fatalities in the Western Central Pacific. Although typical victims are fishermen who handle like fishing nets and sort like fish on their boats. Those are the most at risk, or dragging a net while wading in muddy coastal waters or river mouths. Although some species are gentle, not very aggressive, and only will bite when provoked. But there are some species that are very aggressive. Great. It just doesn't seem right. Like, I mean, it kind of makes sense. If you're a snake, they can I can imagine them moving for the water, but it still seems wrong. This fact I thought was really interesting. Sea snakes, so they do have to breathe air occasionally, but they can remain submerged for several hours. And actually, they can kind of breathe water. They can breathe through their skin, kind of. More than 90, well, they can, but this is the thing. More than 90% of waste carbon dioxide and 33% of their oxygen requirement can be transported via cutaneous respiration, which is like through their skin. So they can't so they do have to go to the surface to breathe sometimes, but they can meet some of the requirements just from breathing through their skin, breathing water through their skin, which it's mind-bending. There are only 55 species of true sea snakes, with most between 1 and 1.5 meters in length, though some may grow up to 2.7 meters, which is cursed. Although, in addition to the 55 species of true sea snakes, there are also other types of like pseudo sea snakes that sometimes have to go on land to, I think, lay eggs. I think this article probably talks about it somewhere. 6 species of sea krites are not as specialized for the aquatic life as true sea snakes. They have to crawl up onto land sometimes. I think, they go ashore to lay eggs. Yeah, I'm right. Now let's get to the part we've all been thinking about, sea snake bites, which I've already kind of talked about, but let's go into a little bit more detail. Even though many sea snakes are venomous, they rarely inject very much of their venom. I would guess because it probably is very metabolically costly for a lot of these snakes to produce venom, so they don't want to waste all of it. So very frequently, these snake bites from these type of snakes are trivial, and the severity of poisoning, or only severity of poisoning is recognizable, or there's no symptoms. Still, you can die. It does say there have been some fatalities because of sea snakes, so great. That being said, sea snakes are actually quite rare. You probably wouldn't see them. All right, so snakes, masters of land, masters of the sea, but at least they're not masters of the air, right? Ha 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 ha. Wrong. Flying snakes, if it ever loads. Great. Flying snakes. There are certain species of snakes that just fly. And to be clear, they're not actually flying. They're gliding like flying squirrels. Still, it's pretty terrifying. I wonder if this...
There are 5 species of snakes in the Malaysia.
I just want to see... I just want to see the video of snakes flying or gliding. It's more just falling with style. It doesn't seem right. I remember I did a video on this a few years ago because there was a study done on these snakes because they move in a peculiar way when they're gliding. And I think the researchers were trying to find out if the way they move is actually beneficial to them. And I think they found out that it is beneficial. Like they can kind of control which direction they go. This species that can glide is called the paradise tree snake. I don't know if there's any other species. Flying snakes like the paradise tree snake. So that would imply that there is more than one species of flying snake. But at least the paradise tree snake, which is one type of flying snake, lives in trees of South and Southeast Asia, luckily far, far away from where I live. Yeah, they just live in trees and just jump out whenever they feel like and just glide to other tree branches, which is terrifying. There is a small possibility if you're chilling in Asia that there'll be a snake that misjudges its jump and lands on you. I don't know if they're venomous though, so I don't know if anything would happen. It would be pretty freaky though. Ooh, a 3D diagram of how these snakes move in through the air. It kind of just looks like it's flailing around. Here's a story that's just frankly bizarre. So there was this farmer who lives in Nepal. I don't care. Sorry. So there's this farmer that lives in Nepal, and he was bitten by a cobra while he was working in a rice paddy. I think it was a rice paddy. Yeah, a rice paddy field. He was bitten by it. And the Nepali farmer, he was later quoted as saying, quote, "A snake charmer told me that if a snake bites you, bite it until it is dead and nothing will happen to you." This is from this Nepal farmer whose name is Muhammad Salmadin. Salmadin? Muhammad Salmadin. I'm sorry. Anyways, that's what he did. He caught the snake and he bit it several times until the snake died. The same snake that bit him. And the snake died and he was fine. So maybe the snake charmer was right. No, just to be clear, this is not a strategy that I would recommend trying, because I feel like the worst case scenario is that the snake just bites you again. I would recommend just going to the hospital, which I think this guy's like family and friends eventually encouraged him to go to the hospital. But like he was fine. Is this the snake that he bit to death? That's cold as hell. Ooh, I didn't see this before. The guidelines issued by the UK's National Health Service to respond to snake bites. We might as well go over it really quick. Remain calm. Try to remember the snake's shape, size, and color. Keep the bitten part of your body as still as possible to prevent the venom spreading. Remove any jewelry or watches from the bitten limb as it may swell. Do not attempt to remove any clothing such as trousers, and seek immediate medical attention. Widely known treatments such as the application of a tourniquet or trying to suck out the venom are not recommended. There you go. This is just a funny story. This happened on April 1st, 2007 in Google headquarters, or I don't think Google headquarters, but it was one of Google's office buildings that in New York. And they sent out a email to all of their employees in the New York office building. And I think I have the email here, and I'm just going to read it verbatim. Quote, "Dear Googlers, The timing of this email cannot be more awkward. Over the weekend, a pet snake belonging to a Googler was released from its cage in a 4th-floor cubicle near the tech shop. The snake is a 3-foot-long brown and gray ball python named Kaiser. Or Kaiser? I don't know. Ball pythons are non-venomous and are commonly kept as pets. Our exterminator was Google's security team, and the snake's owner are searching for it. Should you see the snake, please do not attempt to touch it or pick it up. Call security immediately. Tempting as this might be, this is not an April Fool's Day joke. We are sending this message to alert you to the situation and to let you know what to do in the event you see the snake. That is so unfortunate. That such an insane thing would happen on April 1st. Let's move on to our next story, which is about the Grinch, and it is related to snakes. Believe it or not, we'll get to where it relates to snakes. But first, let me just read the title of this article. Heart 2 sizes too small? Mr. Grinch, see your cardiologist. They interviewed Dr. David Kraus, a professor of cardiology at Johns Hopkins University, who has been studying the Grinch. Cass says that there are rare conditions that effectively reduce the size of the heart, and Dr. David Cass says, quote, you're going to have that small heart beating twice as fast in order to supply enough blood. That means you're going to feel your heart racing all the time, which could make you grumpy. Yeah, it does mention that in the book that the Grinch's heart grew 3 sizes. And the cardiologist, Dr. Cass, says there are situations where the human heart can fairly rapidly get large, but you don't feel good when that happens. This couldn't be the Grinch's issue. And this cardiologist settled on a different explanation for the Grinch's fast-growing heart, and it makes so much sense. Quote, he's really a snake. And I mean not just any snake, he's a python, specifically a Burmese python. Because Burmese pythons' hearts are designed to grow rapidly after a big meal. Burmese pythons, normally, I guess most snakes actually don't eat very often. I have this article over here. How long can a snake go without eating? Snakes can generally last around 2 months without food. However, wild snakes can go freshwater for months or even weeks. That's a weird way to phrase that. They can go for months or even weeks. Now, sorry, I'm getting a little distracted. But most snakes don't go a long time without eating, right? So they want to have a lower metabolism. So, when they are just resting, right, and just waiting for prey to come by, so that they can serve more energy. And the Burmese python does this by effectively, I think its heart shrinks, so that it doesn't have to expend as much energy. That's what I get, or that's my understanding of it. And then after the Burmese python eats a meal, all of a sudden its heart will expand super fast to be able to digest, or to have enough energy to be able to digest the meal. And then after the meal is digested, it shrinks back down. It's really quite incredible. The Grinch is a Burmese python, or at least has the cardiovascular system of a Burmese python. All right, let's move on to our next story, which is about this snake, the green anaconda. And let's move down to the green anaconda's reproduction and development section. It is pretty crazy. Let me read what this article says. Quote, green anacondas reach sexual maturity at about 3 to 4 years old. Mating generally occurs from March to May during the dry season. Males form groups of up to 13 snakes and mate with one female. They form a, quote, breeding ball where the males surround the females and compete for access to her cloaca. This mating can last for up to a month, in which time the female will mate several times. Afterward, the female may consume one of the more smaller males, as she will not eat again for the 7 months gestation period. Green anacondas only mate every other year, likely due to the large amount of energy loss. Yeah, that sounds exhausting. And unfortunately, I do have pictures of this, which I would like to show. This breeding ball of snakes, which is horrifying. Which is a horrifying sentence. Oh, look at all the snakes. If you came across this and just saw a ball of snakes, you wouldn't know what's going on. But now you do know what's going on. And it's made my life worse. If I have to know about this, you have to know about this too. Green anacondas are pretty wild. Let's just go with that. I want to stop looking at these pictures, actually. I know I can't. There's no way I can actually stop at this article. At this fact, because it's so gross. So I have another fact. I have our last story that I want to talk about, and that's the Titanoboa, the largest snake that ever lived that we know of. Estimated up to 50 feet long and 3 feet wide, this snake was the top predator in the world's first tropical rainforest. Also the largest predator on the planet between the extinction of dinosaurs 65 million years ago and the appearance of the megalodon approximately 23 million years ago. The largest predator for tens of millions of years. Here I have a few pictures of the Titanoboa. You can see it is a quite large snake. That's a human person. It freaks me out. I want to read a little bit more from this article because I think this is just fascinating. Titanoboa carjonius. Never mind. Titanoboa, the world's largest snake, as far as we know. There could be larger snakes, so that have lived. So just keep that in mind. We estimated that it could have been between 45 and 50 feet long, that it could maybe have been 3 feet wide, and would have weighed over a ton. This is a little hard to conceptualize. This article points out that if you were in like an office building, it would struggle to get through your office door. That's how large this snake is. It would have to squeeze through to get at you. Comforting. Largest known predator that we know of on the face of the planet following the extinction of the dinosaurs. Largest known predator that we know of. There could have been a larger one. And of course, the first question that comes to mind is, why do we not have snakes this large today in the rainforests of South America? And the answer is that essentially that the snake is related to anacondas and boas. So why don't we see anacondas and boas, which are alive today, just at massive proportions? And basically the answer is that 58 million years ago in South America, it was much hotter. This is important because snakes are cold-blooded, so they have to regulate their temperature by relying on their environment, right? The Titanoboa has to derive its body temperature from the ambient temperature, the temperature in their environment, as opposed to deriving their temperature from the food that they eat, like a warm-blooded animal does. So cold-blooded reptiles can't really get above a certain mass without their metabolism slowing so far down that they wouldn't, be able to eat at a certain temperature. So the only reason that Titanoboa became as large as it did was because temperatures were maybe even as much as 10 degrees Fahrenheit warmer than they are today. But that does lead to the following question that we have to ask, is that does that mean that with future global warming, we'll have larger snakes appearing on the planet? And this article continues. The answer to that is theoretically, yes. We could get larger snakes with global warming. But I would also add that while that's true in theory, in fact, probably we won't see it, because one of the things that would be required to build such a large snake, even from something like an anaconda, wouldn't be an appropriate habitat. And that's the one thing that is rapidly disappearing in various parts of the planet, especially in some of the more biodiverse places in the tropics. So the habitat might just not be there. Also, the interaction with humans would certainly keep these very large snakes from reappearing. And another thing is that the global warming that we think we will experience within the next, say, 200 years is happening so much more rapidly than the very long ramp up towards warmer climate that was happening that probably resulted in the large body sizes that we see in the Titanoboa 58 million years ago. Great. That's comforting. The snakes won't get larger because we're destroying the environment. Well, I feel like I can't just leave you on this article because it's kind of terrifying also. So I have this, I'll leave you on this Google image search. Snakes with sweaters. Some snake owners like knitting sweaters for their snakes. Oh, look at this guy. He's wearing a little hat. And he has a sweater. This guy is stretched out in a straight line. Normally you see them like coiled up. Not very often where you just see a snake just stretched out. There's a whole bunch of snakes that are just stretched out in a straight line and they're sweaters. Great. Well, this is delightful. Well, great. I hope you feel better about snakes. I know I don't.